Air pollution, the same as with water, we have fairly good new legislation, but terribly weak implementation of the law. This means that polluting companies get away with massive emissions of chemicals and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We know that pollution levels give rise to epidemics of cancers and respiratory diseases, and that these have the greatest impact on our kids. In addition, the greenhouse gas emissions have a significant impact on our climate, and this too affects our health, our agriculture, our coastal zone, and it adds to the risk of growing numbers of extreme weather events and can wreck many livelihoods and facilities if we do not take steps to reduce our emissions. Already South Africa is the largest emitter in the continent of Africa. We're number 13 on the world table of emissions, so we're a great culprit. And what has government done? It's commissioned even more coal-fired power stations. It had a difficulty financing this. It got a loan from the World Bank. It tripled, well, it's put our tariffs up by 25% for 3 years. And we know that that all adds up to doubling the tariffs over 3 years. So, although there were campaigns to try and get the World Bank to rethink its decision to give us the loan, in the interests of climate justice, we failed to effect that. And the World Bank and the South African government are now complicit in raising the amount of emissions. We're also aware of Chancellor House, which is an investment arm of the ANC, having a benefit from putting up these new power stations, so that funds will go through the tendering process directly into the coffers of the ANC. And we have to ask, is this ethical and good corporate practice? On the question of energy, it's clear from these examples of these new big coal power stations, Medupi and Kusile, that neither the government nor the World Bank have any interest in reducing our emissions. In fact, since the load shedding of 2008 around the country, we've been stampeded in going further down the route of coal and of nuclear. Partly because the lobbies in those industries have quite a lot of leverage over government. And have caused government to neglect the alternatives. So we need to put forward a coherent program. And that program would consist of things like energy efficiency, which is the cheapest way of going forward in saving the building of new power stations. Of demand-side management, bringing our demand down so that households and industries are not using so much energy. We try and making energy savings and trying to reduce energy. But if you own the energy company, if you're ESCOM, your interest is capturing more and more energy, not really bringing down the energy. So we have to come up with strong proposals on this. We have to also propose that no further progress be made down the nuclear road, and I've got a lot of reasons for that, which here. Renewables, unlike nuclear, can be made available all over the country rather than in highly centralized individual power stations. Should one of those plants fail, the whole system doesn't go down. In fact, the diversity of options creates more security of supply. There'll be a significant number of jobs in construction, maintenance, repair, jobs accessible to the many unemployed across the country rather than a handful of highly skilled and trained nuclear operators, many of whom will have to be imported because there's a global shortage of these. And our reactors won't be built by local companies, they'll be built largely by foreign companies, either French, Japanese, American, Chinese, or Korean. So we're not ensuring domestic control over our energy sources in the way that we could think more about that.